Well, good morning, Cam.
Good morning, Mitch. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Got a nice tight shot of me today because I'm using Cam Studio. So, our
I
Camo
feel like
Studio. I keep saying it wrong. Camo
yeah, it's
Studio.
not. It's not my studio. I'm in my studio. You're not
Yeah.
in my studio.
So they updated Camo Studio this last week or two to open it up to all webcams that you can run through your system. So if you've been using Cam Studio or Camo Studio for the iPhone, stop it. I'm just ignoring it. You can use that with continuity camera now. You can use it with the built-in FaceTime camera, any other webcams that you have too. So yeah, I'm testing it out, see how I like it. Maybe it can be a future topic, but looks good so far. I'm not unhappy with it.
Well, that's good.
Hey, so last time I was really jacked about this job opportunity.
Yeah.
And then I had misgivings, and then I was really jacked about it again, and then I was really some misgivings about it, and then I was really jacked about it again. It's been a roller coaster. I didn't get the job, so it's what it is.
Bummer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And it's probably for the best. It was going to be a huge risk for me to move away from what I'm doing, where I'm making a decent amount of money for what it is. And it was going to be a huge risk going to 100% commission and all that. So, it's not what God had for me, and I'm fine with that.
All right.
So anyway, thought I would update you on that and update the audience as it is. So let's do a quick update on Snipped. Now, we talked about Snipped last week, SNIPD, the podcast player that you've been using. So new opinions, differing opinions, how you feeling about it?
I still like it. And so I have three things to talk about. One, I can confirm it's hard on your battery.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you have like the now playing screen open where it shows like the latest episode and the create snip button and the forwards and backwards controls, that just stays on, which is one of the reasons it kills your battery. It's like I'll just set it down and have my AirPods in or have it playing through speakers or whatever, like while I'm doing the dishes or cooking. And then like 20 minutes will go over and I'm like, oh, the screen is still on. Like no wonder it's destroying my battery. So there's that. Secondarily, one issue that I do have with it is, to the best of my knowledge, there's no way to set your playback destination in the app. Like you can't set it to your AirPods. You can't set it to Bluetooth speaker. You have to go into the actual phone settings to do that. Like you got to go here.
Yeah.
To change it, the control center option, which is really silly that an audio app whose sole purpose is to play back audio doesn't have the option in the app to choose your playback destination.
Yeah,
that
seems like a missed opportunity.
It's a silly oversight. Mm-hmm. So that's the second thing. Thirdly, I will say that I don't think a lot of people use this app, because twice now in my weekly, email that they send about like your usage and your snips, is like, I've been, congratulations, you're in the top % of users of Snip. You had 68 snips this week. And I'm like, 68 puts me in the top 10%. That was like, now it's happened twice where I've been in the top 10%. Because I snipped like 2 or 3 episodes of certain podcasts. And so I'm like, that really leads me to believe that not a lot of people use this app, which concerns me that it might go away because of that at some point. Because it's currently free. And my best guess, based on my usage of it and how high it ranks me and the people that are using the snipping feature, I don't know, that has me a little concerned about its longevity. So we'll see. So those are my thoughts on it. Still like it, but with a few gotchas in there.
And I used it for a couple of days. I transferred all my podcasting or all my podcast feeds into that, and tried, listen to some stuff and used the snipping feature and did all that. And I'll tell you, it's a nice app. it's not solving a problem that I have though. So for me to stick with Pocket Casts seemed like a no-brainer, just because I don't do the snipping a whole lot with audio. I'm more of a passive listener. I don't like to. I don't necessarily save out a whole lot. I won't say that I don't like to, but I don't really do it that much. It seems like a good tool if I want to take our podcast into it and create some, quick little videos for promotional purposes and stuff like that. Seems like a nice little app to do that kind of stuff. But it is not really something that I'm terribly interested in doing just for my own benefit. That's something that I'm going to do when I'm reading books in Audible, especially for my biblical counseling training. Or, if I'm in the Kindle app and I'm actually doing the highlighting and bookmarking and stuff like that, that's something that I'm going to do in those areas. But podcast listening, like I've never really taken podcast listening to be an equivalent of, reading a book or, collecting information. It's more of a passive entertainment to me. So, but in response to that, and in response to our conversation last week, I did pick up a couple of Bible podcasts that I thought, I should balance out my tech podcasts with a couple of Bible podcasts. And I've been kind of enjoying. I'm still on the fence as to where I stand as far as their doctrinal beliefs, but the Bible Project seems interesting. They're going through a series right now on the anointing and anointing oil and different things like that. And I thought it's kind of interesting the depth that they go into to talk about this stuff. But again, from a doctrinal standpoint, not really sure where I stand with it yet.
Yeah, they've got really helpful like book overview videos on YouTube, on their YouTube channel, that like in like 4 or 5 minutes give you like the full story of like the book of Genesis, right? Like not the full, but like, and that's really helpful. We used those videos when we were doing our adult Bible study classes as just like helpful pieces of information to help people place the certain passage we were talking about within the greater context. So yeah, what I've seen of them, the Bible Project, I have enjoyed, but I haven't listened to their podcast, so I can't speak to that.
Yeah. I would, the only thing that I don't care for about their podcast, and it's kind of a nitpick, is that there's 2 guys on the podcast. One of them is obviously the quote expert unquote that drives the lesson. The other guy just seems to be like the guy that sits there and yep, here's a question, yep, and doesn't, feels to me like he contributes about 20% to the podcast, where the other guy's contributing a lot to the podcast. So but some of the information that has come up, like I thought was really interesting. He talks about how the term Christ means anointed one, and that Christians is anointed ones, and kind of talking about the term anointed or anoint overall, which I thought was interesting. Their last podcast that I listened to, they were going through the formula in the Bible for anointing oil and the possible meanings behind it and different things like that. I think they're stretching a little bit, in my opinion, but it was interesting to listen to a point of view on this stuff that I hadn't heard before. So it was good. But otherwise, if it wasn't for our conversation last time, I don't think I would have seeked that out. So it's good.
I'm glad you found one that you like.
So I sent you a picture just after our last podcast that the picture was of my watch, my Apple Watch, and the comment I got back was because all I said to you was, "Hey, I got something new." I think that's how I phrased it, and you're like, "So was I supposed to know that you had an Apple Watch Ultra?" And I let you bake just a little bit. I didn't answer right away. and then I let you off the hook. There is a company, I got it on Amazon, but I'm sure it's available elsewhere. It's a case that can go on top of your Apple Watch Series 7 or 8 that will make it look like an Apple Watch Ultra. So I thought it would be funny. I thought it would be, it would be kind of a nice little prank to play, to hey, look, I got an Apple Watch Ultra. Isn't that funny? But I still have it on my watch because I'm going to tell you, I love the way it looks. That the titanium color, obviously the watch, the cover itself is not actual titanium, but it has the color. It has the little action button that does nothing. It's just there for decoration. It has a little piece that goes over the top of the digital crown, and it's got the crown guard. It's got the button lifted off for the bottom button on there, and it looks like as close as you could get to an Apple Watch Ultra without it actually being an Apple Watch Ultra. But the one thing that I have absolutely loved on this thing is the flat screen on the top. The lack of roundedness to it. It feels to me like it almost makes it easier to use. Because a lot of times, like if I want to flip through the watch faces, it's hit and miss. Sometimes they work, sometimes it doesn't. Where with this larger screen on the top, it's doing something that makes it easier to flip between them. It also makes the screen look a lot bigger than it is. And I don't know if there's some kind of magic that they're doing in there or it's just an optical illusion, but it really makes me feel like that screen is a lot bigger than it is. And I'm liking that a lot. So I don't know. I haven't taken it off yet because I've really been enjoying it. And I've got a bunch of fake Apple Watch or knockoff Apple Watch Ultra bands. So like right now I'm wearing the green trail loop, and it looks legit. Like it looks really nice with this like, watch cover.
Picturing you like the inside of your sweater that you have on. It's got like the cases on one side and then and it's Apple Watch Ultra ULTRUH.
So I'll tell you what. I looked at my wife after wearing this for a couple of days, and I said, next time I update my Apple Watch, I might go Ultra. I think I really like the way this thing looks and feels and the large screen and everything. I mean, we'll see what Apple does in the fall, but I really like this. So we'll see.
Well, I'm glad that you like your fake watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The color, I think the one thing that stands out to me the most is that normally when I buy an Apple Watch, I buy, I had the space gray one. I've got the midnight one now. Like it hasn't had a lot of visual interest to it. It's just looked nice and clean and sleek and then done its job as a computer watch. But this case just looks so pretty. And, there's colors that are not going to go with this case, with the titanium color that they used, but the green band on here with the orange button and the kind of almost bronzish color of the titanium just looks so nice. And I just can't get over it. I a few times a day, I just kind of look down and it makes me smile. So
then it's doing its job.
Yeah. So, and to be clear, I'm not running around telling people that I have an Apple Watch Ultra. And if somebody looked at me and was like, "Oh, is that the Apple Watch Ultra?" I might fake it for a minute, but I would let them off the hook. I would tell them it's not actually the Apple Watch Ultra. I'm not looking to fool anybody. I just love the way it looks. So,
well, that's fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, I had an idea for our topic today. So hopefully this will be a really interesting conversation. If not, we'll bail and do something else. But because I have a feeling that you have opinions that it's just nope. And, and then I'm going to talk a lot.
I don't know.
So
maybe I'll filibuster. You don't know what I'm going to do.
Who knows?
Mitch.
Let's see. All right. Well, let's get into it. All right. So my idea for today's show is, we're hearing a lot of rumors about the AR, VR, XR, whatever headset that Apple is going to be coming out with sooner or later. It sounds like it's looking to be launched at WWDC, launched or at least announced. So I'm sure there's going to be a huge developer message. There's going to be a lot talked about. Have you listened to a whole lot of podcasts and other people's opinions about this yet? No? Okay.
No.
Well, at any rate, I have. So I have opinions about this. But first off, how you feel about AR, VR, stuff?
I mean, I have a Quest, that's primarily, that's the right P word, used for like silly games, right? Like Beat Saber, or there's one called Acron, which is acorn spelled wrong. And the person in the VR headset is this tree that's trying to protect these things. And everyone else is on their phones controlling squirrels in the video game. They can build or tunnel, and like I can pick the squirrels up and chuck them. But like you can, as long as you have the code, like I could be on my headset, you could be in your living room where you live, and then like my sister could be in her living room in San Francisco, and we could all be playing together. And you guys are the squirrels, and I'm the angry tree. So like I like it for the games in that regard. And I've seen like HoloLens stuff for like work applications, because like I work at a staffing agency, and it's all light industrial stuff. And so being like having like tutorials on how to repair a machine on your thing, and it can show you exactly what, like, that stuff's pretty gnarly. So yeah, I mean, I think its potential is obviously untapped yet, because we're just at the very beginning. But the fact that it can have applications from silly games to seriously technical applications is interesting.
Yeah, and I think that it's a good thing to start off just talking about how this is an area that hasn't gained a lot of traction, in the larger market. There's certainly a niche that's really into this, really into playing these games and using the stuff for work, like you said. And Federico Vitici just talked about how, a couple weeks ago, about how he uses this. He found his use for it as being able to put it on and create virtual desktops for his Mac and be able to work in a virtual environment.
Well, I don't understand that one. That one I don't understand.
He thought he really talked about how it was really cool how he could do that. So I'm going to leave it. You'd have to go back and listen to the Connected from a couple weeks ago where he talks about it.
Like, so the pastor's wife here at my church, she knows, like, one of her cousins works at a company whose sole product is using VR for remote workers to put them in a virtual desktop like area so they can work virtually. And I'm like, I read through the website, and I was like, I don't understand why this is a thing. This makes zero sense to me.
And it may be one of those things where it doesn't make sense to you until you do it and you're in that virtual environment. I don't know. It's not something that I've ever done, but it's something that Federico really found engaging and intriguing, and the idea that he can pretty much sit anywhere and work on his computers. But I don't know.
I just wouldn't want one of those things strapped to my head for 8 hours a day. Like, that sounds awful.
Yeah. One of the other pitfalls, I think, I have glasses. I wear glasses, and one of my concerns is that these devices either aren't going to fit over the glasses very easily, or I've heard, that certain brands of them, you can buy prescription lenses that go in them. That's a big ask, man. These glasses were not cheap. And so, and I've got, I suppose I wouldn't necessarily have to have the progressive lenses for doing that. It would probably just be a single vision lens. But still, like, you're talking, $200-$300 to get prescription lenses that you can put into these devices to make that work for you. So, when the device is already, at least right now, anywhere from $300 to $1,500, that's still a big ask to have to add that in there. So I think that there's some challenges to AR VR. I didn't want to start out talking about, all the pie in the sky stuff that I've been thinking about with AR VR without recognizing that there are some pitfalls here. And this could be one of those things that blows up real quick and then just dies, so it could end up being Apple's next Newton, or it could end up being Apple's next iPhone or Apple Watch. It could end up being really cool. So let me pose the question. What are you looking for in a headset that would make you spend $3,000 for a headset?
I don't think I would ever spend $3,000 on a headset.
All right. So this is a this is a theoretical question. So
I will give you one caveat. If it's Ready Player One level, then I would consider it. I would consider saving up for it.
Yeah.
But until then, I'm not spending that kind of money. I don't spend that kind of money on my computers.
Right.
Or my phone. Like, I think the only thing I've spent $3,000 on in my entire life was a house and cars.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think I've talked about this on the show before, and I'm going to go into this a little bit more with another one of the questions that we're going to talk about here. But I really would love to be able to travel in VR. And something that is a very convincing trip. You've gone somewhere and done something, and you've teleported to a place. You've enjoyed the sights and the sounds and the interesting things about this place, and then you take off the headset and come back to reality. And to me, for someone who would love to do more traveling than I'm able to do, I think that would be a really cool, that would get me to spend $3,000 on a headset.
I mean, I think it would be interesting to do that sort of like more so as to like, do I really want to go to Bogota, Spain? Let's hop into VR and go walk around Bogota and see if it's worth the money to travel there. Like that to me would be interesting. But I don't think that I would be satisfied unless it's like,
it's a
because like
cheaper
you can't eat the food, right? You can't, touch the bill. Like, so I think it'd be cool from like an educational, like you can't talk to the people in VR, right? So like there's obvious drawbacks, but I think from like trying to figure out like, okay, I want to travel. I got to save up for that because it's expensive. Let's go check out different places that we're interested in and then decide based on that, where I'd like to go. Because anything international is immediately expensive and time consuming, right? But I mean, because some of that stuff you can already do right now, like on my Quest, like I can go ride a zip line through like the Costa Rican, jungle, which Kennedy thought was very fun.
Yeah, but are these videos or are they interactive?
No, it's just someone had a 360 camera and you're just along for the ride. Or you can sit in the front row of a roller coaster. It's not interactive in the sense that like you get to choose, what you're doing. It's just 360 video that you can, look around and of course the perspective's off because the camera's like, not where your eyes would be. It's
right.
But I mean, you can go, and you can see people like do walkthroughs of like Mexico City or different cities. But it's up to you're up to whatever they recorded, right? Not interactive in the way that you're like, oh, I'm literally going to go explore the city of my own volition, right?
Right.
That would be a next level thing.
That'd be cool. And we're talking 10 years, 20 years down the road. This is not something that is necessarily going to happen next week. So
because we got to give Google time to map it in VR,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can do Google Maps, but in VR and just do your own thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is something really. The intent here is to open up our imagination and what could this device be? You know, that would make it the next iPhone or the next Apple Watch versus the next Newton.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for those of you who are not tracking that the Newton was a failure. You know, which there's been a lot of folks that even before we've seen anything are already comparing it to the Newton because nobody wanted the Newton at the time, and it wasn't until years later that Apple, brought out the iPad that suddenly it made sense. It was a viable product. So all right. My next question in the show doc is if we could develop any app for this. Now, keep in mind, I'm not putting any restriction on price. You know, we're both billionaires. We have all the money in the world to do whatever we want to do. Maybe we have the ability to do it, or we have the ability to hire the people to do it. We just want to make the app that's going to blow everybody's mind. What would that app be?
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is not something that's going to blow people's mind, but would be extremely helpful and functional to musicians is a mixed reality where you can see your instrument, but you also can overlay, whether it's piano or guitar or even like the violin or cello or saxophone, where like you can see your hands and the different ways that you can play the notes, overlaying chord shapes or scales or helping you learn songs by, lighting up where you're supposed to play, when you're supposed to play. So you're gaining the muscle memory of learning those things while the headset is helping you see it visually. So you're getting both the visual and the muscle memory at the same time. Because oftentimes, like, you'll have to look at a chart, be like, oh, and then look at your instrument and then try and mimic it. But having the chart or the chords or whatever actually visible on the instrument as you're playing it, I think would be the next level of that sort of, education for musicians. So that would be pretty cool, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not going to set the world on fire by any, stretch of the imagination, but for a specific group of people, namely people trying to become better musicians, that would be, I think, really interesting and helpful application of a mixed reality sort of deal.
Mm-hmm. Is there a way that you could take that to the next level? Like if you had like virtual instructors and stuff like that would push that to the next level of somebody saying, okay, your technique's off just a little bit here. Try bending your finger this way.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. And whether that's, I mean, the next level would be like, yeah, you're not stuck with a guitar teacher in your small town. You can go get a guitar teacher from Berklee School of Music, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go to Boston, right? You can live in a small town somewhere or in another big city, right? But like if there's a specific type of music that you want to learn, you can go to the best instructors for that genre or that style or that instrument, right? You're not stuck with who's close to you or taking an online course that isn't interactive where it's just a guy or a girl on a video walking you through, like like you said, no, your technique is wrong. You need to, getting instant feedback would be pretty dope.
Mm-hmm. You're forming this chord with two fingers. If you switch these two fingers and do it this way, it's easier, and then because I'm running into, I was trying to learn a song on the ukulele and it required a G7 chord. That is not an easy thing for a man with big sausage fingers to do on a ukulele. So, but yeah, somebody said, hey, no, switch these two fingers. And all of a sudden you're just like, oh crap, that is way easier, But
yeah, so that's my first thought. Would be something like that. And that obviously extends beyond like just music. You could have one that's like cooking and cuisine and learning, different recipes and different, styles of food, and then learning from an instructor on proper ways to prepare certain dishes, and like it kind of snowballs into, like, I think the education and training realm is a huge opportunity for this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And not just the technical stuff where, like, you're fixing an HVAC unit, and you have the actual like, no, turn this knob and remove that, and then put this belt that
Mm-hmm.
So
There'd be a whole new opportunity for like developing some kind of VR style YouTube that you could go to and just say, hey, I need to learn how to do this, and then it pulls up like a 360-degree tutorial video that actually goes through, and maybe you can overlay it over what you're working on and actually do it with the person. That would be really interesting. So for mine, I want to develop a little bit more of the idea I was talking about, the travel thing. So, this to me is my killer app for VR. And I could see starting this app, building out this framework, and then what you would do is you would go into the app and you would select the place that you want to go. So let's say I want to go to, Edinburgh, Scotland.
mm-hmm.
And so I'm walking down the street in Edinburgh, looking around, looking at the sights. You're not getting the smells, you're not getting the food, but you're getting, there's an audio component to it. You're hearing the sounds of the city. You hear people talking on the street, you're walking through it, and you walk up to this shop. And so what's been done for you prior to this is that somebody has gone into that shop and had an experience in that shop. Maybe you're getting a kilt made. And so you go into the shop, and all of a sudden you go into a video of somebody, a 365-degree video or 360-degree video, excuse me, throwing that 5 extra degrees in there. It's like 5 more degrees, man. But you go into the shop and you enter this kind of, here's what it's like to get a kilt made. And so, they're measuring the guy, you're enjoying this whole experience of getting this done. Not, man, I'm watching this guy in his boxers get everything measured. That's not the key. But you're just experiencing, okay, he gets measured, and then he goes and he picks out the tartan that he wants to have the kilt made in. And then maybe it fast forwards to a later date where he goes and picks up the kilt, and you kind of get that experience.
Well, you know that kilts only come in 3 sizes, right? Wee, not so wee, and freaking huge.
So anyway,
for those that get the reference, you're welcome. For those that don't, stay confused.
Yeah. So, maybe then you go down, you walk down the street to a little cafe, and you enter the cafe and enjoy a little experience of what it's like to be in a cafe, ordering something. I don't know. The experience itself would be just like these little almost side quests to just enjoy these little things, here and there that you wouldn't necessarily get to enjoy in a day-to-day thing wherever you're living. It would be that a little bit different. So it whets your appetite to actually go visit a place like that. Now the next step would be partnering with companies like Disney or like a Six Flags Great America or something like that, where you could go somewhere and enjoy a theme park. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of licensing that has to go into this and all that kind of stuff. But you would partner with them. All of these experiences would cost money, but it wouldn't cost. It wouldn't cost what you would be paying to actually go do it. Maybe it's $100 an experience. So you want to go to Disney, and so you pay $100. You unlock this experience where you can go to Disney. Now, it's not a one-time thing. You can go there as many times as you want and enjoy the sights and sounds and everything. It would just cost $100 to unlock that experience. But then the benefit it would give Disney is that now somebody has gone through and seen how cool it could be to go to Disney and now wants to go to Disney, and experience it in person. So those sorts of things. Another thought I had was national parks could be tricky. So you could go and you could walk a national park. You could enjoy the sights and sounds and everything. But the experience that I would love to have is, what if you could fly a live drone through a park? Now, the drone, we're talking 10, 20 years down the road. So the drone itself would have to have some kind of collision avoidance and stuff like that. So you're not, getting it stuck in a tree. But you could take it and you could fly around, a monument, or, take it down into the Grand Canyon and look, you just be able to look around, but you're doing it live. It's actually happening at the same time that you're doing it. This could be a next level experience where you're able to go and view these things with what it looks like right now. There's obviously a lot of FAA laws that you'd have to look into, and stuff like that, to be able to have that kind of, and maybe it's something you can only do on a certain day of the week. Maybe it's a Tuesday and it's like the slowest day of the week in this national park. So now you can go in, you can have the guys flying these drones through the park.
I want to make one correction. Earlier, I said Bogota, Spain. It's definitely Colombia. I don't know what I was thinking.
Okay. Well, I didn't correct you, so we were both wrong.
No, it's definitely in Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had a brain fart.
It happens. But that would be my, killer app, and I feel like there is even more possibilities with this app. So,
you know what I would really want?
And
this is going to make me sound like a child. I would love Fortnite or Call of Duty on VR.
I think I might throw up if I ever played it, but it could be fun for sure.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
I'd be really surprised if it's not on Epic's roadmap to do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's already like a battle royale game in there, and it looks so awful that I haven't played it yet on the Quest. I mean, it looks terrible, and I'm not under any illusions that a game like that is gonna happen within the next 5 years. Like, I think it's further down the road, because you got to figure out, obviously you need the processing power, but you need to figure out how do you take a third person or first person shooter, right, and make that something that you can actually interact with, the environment and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be really fun.
So my next question on the list here is, what do you want from your hardware?
Back massages. I mean, one of the issues that I run into with the Quest, like especially if I'm playing Beat Saber, and you kind of get into it and you start working up a little bit of it's like I take it off and my face is like I got like a pink like raccoon mask.
Yeah,
because it gets a little hot in there. So I think better, like, I don't even want to say long term, but like just better ergonomics as far as fit. Because like on mine, the Quest, there's two little gaps on the either side of my nose where I can like see the floor. If like, and like when you're looking, you can't really tell, but like if I look at it, it totally throws off like, oh, I can see my floor, and obviously the Quest is like the cheapest option out there, right? So like I don't want to judge everything else by the $300 or $400 option, but I just think like ergonomics and cooling, especially like if you're going to be wearing this thing for hours a day, like if you're doing that virtual work desktop deal, like there's no way I would want my Quest stuck in my head that long. It would just be very uncomfortable. So I think definitely ergonomics, longer battery life, definitely. But that obviously adds weight. And so, do you have like some of the battery in the thing and some of the battery on the back to, balance it out? Like, so those are my first initial thoughts, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Mitch?
I think that, well, one of the rumors for the Apple, the first generation Apple VR headset, or Reality Pro is what the rumored name of it, is that it will actually have an offboard battery, with like a belt clip and a cord going to the device. So I think that to me, that's not a terrible solution. It's not Apple pretty, you know, compact design and all that kind of stuff, but I think it's not a bad solution for that.
Well, it's a great way to save weight,
Mhm.
by putting it on your hip. I hadn't even thought of that. That's a really,
Yeah,
yeah,
if they
I
could
like that idea.
make the form factor essentially like a ski mask, and then you just have a belt, battery pack on your belt that connects to it, and you could get bigger batteries that would last longer. If you're sitting at a desk, you could set the battery on the desk and just have the cord, um, going in a direction that's not in your way. There'd be a lot of options there to be able to
Well, even if you're at your desk, then you wouldn't even necessarily need the battery pack. Like there would probably be like
yeah,
a
you could plug
desk,
it in somewhere too. Yeah.
like a desk power source that plugs straight into the wall, and you just run that to your headset, and you're not worrying about batteries at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it gives some modularity to it, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, for me, it's got to be lightweight. It's got to be comfortable. I think that it's got to be able to accommodate those of us that have corrective eyewear. I don't do contact lenses since I had an eye infarction because of them. So
what?
it was basically there was some bacteria that got under the lens that ate into my eye a little bit.
Oh God.
Yeah. So that's why I don't wear contact lenses anymore. They were worried that it was an eye ulcer, which is very similar, but the eye ulcer doesn't stop eating into your eye. It keeps going. And they have to treat it with medicine to get it to stop. Infarction stops on its own. So that's what I was understanding, at least. But yeah, it was very uncomfortable. It was very painful. Yeah. So so I don't wear contacts anymore. So you would have to be able to work with my, and I have a very high prescription too. My eyes suck. And it's so I need something that's going to be able to have like super high index lenses inside that. That's why my glasses cost so much. I could get, a $60 pair of glasses from America's Best if it wasn't for how bad my eyes were. Because I go into a place like America. I went into a place like that once. I don't think it was America's Best, but it was one of those like discount eyeglass places. And the dude looks at me and he's like, "You got the worst prescription I've ever seen." I was like, dude, that really pads my ego. It makes me want to come back and see you again. But he got me hooked up with some glasses, and you know what? They weren't $60 glasses. They were a lot more than that. So, but anyway, that's something that would have to be addressed in one of these, headsets. And maybe they make a headset for people who wear glasses. It's a larger, a little bit bulkier headset, but yeah, I suppose if I'm spending $3,000 on a headset, well, what's another $300 for a set of lenses to go in it?
10%.
Yeah, it's not an insignificant amount of money, but you're already putting $3,000 into it, so it'd be a little different if it was a $300 headset.
That's true.
But what I really want is the glasses that I have on to have an augmented reality overlay.
You want Google Glass?
In a way. But what if, they've done some of this stuff with the watch where, you have Apple Maps open on your watch and it's taking you, you're walking through the city and it's giving you directions through the city. What if you literally could see an overlay in the city that you're in that shows you arrow this way, and then it shows you your turn. At the very least you have a clock and then your like message notifications pop up to let you know, oh, you got a text from so and so or
Oh, I would
whatever.
hate that.
Well, it's something that you can turn off.
Yeah.
But it also would be something that would be really nice for just getting, real-time information. It could replace the watch, with the amount of information that could be on screen. So, and maybe it wouldn't be persistent. Maybe you'd look up into the corner of the lens and it would see that you looked up and it would pull up the overlay for say a minute, and then it would go away. So I don't know. There would be some ways to like trigger it.
Interesting.
I don't know.
They would still want the watch though for like all the health sensors and everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, not that you couldn't build something into the glasses. I'm not sure how. I don't know that you could do heart rate and all that kind of stuff through glasses, but but again, we're talking 10, 20 years down the line. We're not talking today. So, what they're able to do in 20 years is going to be a lot different than what they can do today.
Yeah. It really does amaze me though sometimes how quickly things change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like think 20 years ago. The iPhone came out 20 years ago. It's only been around for 20 years. And you compare what it is now to what it was back then, right?
It hasn't even been 20 years.
It came out in 03, didn't it?
I thought it was 07. Okay.
What was 03?
Google.
Was 03 the iPod?
Well, let's find out. Yeah, June 2007, the first iPhone came out.
Would you look up the iPod then? Because I was convinced one of those was 03. And I think I'm going to go 0 for 2 here.
2001.
Yeah. All right. Well,
October 2001.
Making stuff up over here, folks.
Yeah, you got something in your mind, and whatever.
So, anyways, even that,
yeah.
right? 2007. It's been 16 years since the iPhone came out.
Yeah, it's math, so I'll let you have it.
Like,
I don't remember. Yeah, 16 sounds about right.
I mean, 2003. That I was a junior in high school, so that was like prime Napster and LimeWire.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what we were doing 20 years ago in MySpace, right? Maybe it was Facebook that was 03. Anyways, my point is we tend to think that like 20 years is like a long time a lot of times, but like in the grand scheme of things, 20 years is a drop in the bucket, right?
So 20 years ago, I had let's see. 20 years ago, it put me in 07. I had
20 years ago, it would be 03, buddy. It's 2023.
It's 03. Yeah. What did I say?
You said 07.
Okay, whatever. So 03, if I had a computer, it was a self-built computer with a CRT monitor on it, and I was running it on dial-up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had AOL.
Yeah,
I think it was
family,
AOL. We had a family like HP giant tower, with the big CRT screen on dial-up. So if you were on AOL, the phone didn't work because you were using the phone line for internet. Yeah, I didn't have a computer in high school. I had the family computer.
I was playing SOCOM
PlayStation 2.
I was playing SOCOM 2 on a PS2.
Yeah,
on
PS2 in the bedroom.
When that might have been right around the time we got our first DSL line.
Well, and I'm even thinking back then, like cell phones, flip phone, razors, the LG chocolates.
I think I might have had a flip phone at the time.
I didn't get a cell phone until 05 or 06, I think, when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, different times.
Yeah, things have changed significantly.
Mm-hmm. So LTE wasn't a thing. 4G, 5G, like it wasn't any of that. You had to buy minutes. You had to buy minutes for your cell phone, and like nights and weekends were like.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it didn't come with long distance, so you had to pay extra to get long distance.
Mm-hmm. So I went to college 4 hours away from where I grew up.
Roaming.
And I went there with what?
Roaming.
But I went to college 4 hours away without a car and without a cell phone. So my mom bought me a calling card so that I could call home
cards.
from my landline in my dorm room.
Yep. Calling cards. Yeah. I remember those.
It sounds like it's from the 60s, but this was 2004, folks. This was not a long time ago.
No, it wasn't at all. And I mean, yeah. I was going to school for radio around that time. Around 2003. Well, probably it was closer to... No, it was right around 03.
So yeah, if we can look back and see what's changed in these 20 years, and then... Yeah, 20 more years. Who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway, I bet the cars won't be flying yet.
You know what? I don't know if we'll ever have flying cars.
So yeah, we'll do follow-up on this episode in 20 years. How about that?
If we're still here.
I remember back when we were spraying chickens on the episode, whatever this... I don't know. That was...
Remember when we talked about this? Anyway. So... I don't know that I have a whole lot more to say about this topic. I think it's going to be interesting to see. I'm interested to see what Apple has to announce with their VR headset.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I was just thinking too. This thought just popped in my head. You'll have to forgive me. I thought like the virtual desktop and like working in like nothing's just working on Excel spreadsheets and VR all day. And you could just have them like, ooh, my spreadsheet over here, and another spreadsheet, like, ooh, all the spreadsheet. It's so goofy to me.
You know, this person exists.
I know, and I'm glad that
totally
they do because they help the world run. You know, like we need people like that, and it just cracks me up. Check out my PowerPoint slide deck that I made in virtual reality. Mm-hmm. Anyways, sorry, we can move on.
All right. I think I'm gonna skip this next item. You ready to talk about what's delighting you?
Yes.
All right. What's delighting you today, Cam?
March Madness. The NCAA, the men's version of the tournament. I have not watched the women's side, so I can't comment on that one. But we like to use the term buck wild around here.
Oh, we sure do.
Times. And boy, howdy, has this tournament been a buck wild. It's have you been, you don't really care about college basketball. Yeah. No,
I barely care about basketball. So
it feels like the most upsets in one tournament ever. Not a single no. So Purdue, who I have said has been overrated for the past 3 years, that constantly gets rated high. They were a number 1 seed, and they were only the second time in the history of the world they lost to a 16 seed. A school called Fairleigh Dickinson, somewhere in New Jersey. They beat Purdue, and I loved every second of it. So the Sweet 16 ended yesterday. There are now no number 1 seeds left. And a number 1 seed has won the tournament the last 5 years straight. So there's like a 9 seed and a 3, like there's just so many teams that technically like have no business being in the Elite 8, but they have knocked off all the teams that were supposed to be there. It's been a ton of fun. So, I'm excited. It's been, there was another big upset. Furman beat Virginia, like a 13. And I mean, it's just like every day there's been 1 or 2 upsets where you're like, no way that happened. Holy cow. But then there's also been quite a few like really, really close games. Like Gonzaga, who's always good, has won all their games have been very close and very competitive. They were down 10 at one point. So it's just a lot of really good basketball and a lot of upsets, which just is fun because it ruins everyone's brackets. They get mad about it. And then I'm like, I didn't even make one. So anyways, all that to say, I enjoy college basketball and the tournament has been a lot of fun this year. And the Elite Eight is today and tomorrow. The Final Four and National Championship are next weekend. So still some good games to look forward to.
Right on.
Yay, sports.
Yay.
What about you, Mitch? What's delighting you today? I bet it's not basketball.
It's not basketball related by any means. And we've been excited about baseball around here, but the baseball season hasn't quite started yet. They're in spring training yet. Wake up, Cam.
Sorry.
I'm guessing that's commentary.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, like one of the things that I enjoy about doing this show with you is that while we have a lot in common, there are so many things that we have very different opinions of. And it's fun to you're like, oh, college basketball. Yeah, I don't care. And then you're like, oh, but baseball. And I'm like, oh gosh, shoot me. And it's totally fine. We get on great. And I like the fact that we have such disparity in the things that we enjoy that aren't the things, that we have in common. So anyways, carry on. I apologize for interrupting. I just wanted to.
I'm still not entirely sure what's delighting me today.
So I was stalling for you.
Yeah, really. I let you go first for a reason.
We got that pro podcaster chemistry.
We do. Yeah, it's good stuff. I think, gosh, I wanted to talk about iZotope a little bit today, but I think I'm going to save that because I haven't really dived too deeply into using iZotope yet to really be able to speak intelligently about it. I will say that we finished up our last module for the biblical counseling training that I'm doing. Our next module that starts on April 17th is hermeneutics. And I'm really kind of jacked about this. If you don't know what hermeneutics is, it is the art and science of Bible interpretation. Basically, it's the really nerdy stuff when it comes to Bible interpretation. So I have my book already. I have actually read the first chapter of it. It's Grasping God's Word by Duvall and Hayes. And I have pulled out my Greek study material because I wanted to refresh myself a little bit on my Greek study that I did years ago, so that I'm ready for this. And I don't know. I'm just really jacked about starting this class. The first chapter was all about all the Bible translations that have come out pretty much since the first century. All the different Bible translations up to the authorized version in 1611 and going forward from there, and where they rank on the list of formal to informal. And it's a good, that first chapter was really good and I enjoyed it a lot. So
did they include the word on the street?
No.
Have you heard of the word on the street?
I haven't. I've heard of the Cotton Patch edition.
I don't know that one.
That one's pretty good.
I discovered the word on the street. So I worked in the library in college because it was the best job on campus. And one of the responsibilities, other than obviously working the front desk and checking books in and out, is that you have a section of the library that you have to shelve. And so every shift you come in, part of your shift, you have to go put your books back on the shelves. And I somehow got assigned like the Bible and Bible reference section, which was right up my alley because that was my major, right? So I was there anyways. And so one time I found a I'm not going to call it a translation. I'm going to call it a paraphrase of the Bible called "The Word on the Street," where the Bible was written in Ebonics, right? Street language. And so Genesis wasn't called Genesis. It was called God Does Stuff. And like the whole Bible, it was nuts, man. I was sitting back there just laughing out loud, which you're not supposed to do in a library, but I didn't care because it was so gnarly. Are you looking it up right now?
I am looking it up right now.
I don't know if it's still around, but that was a good time. So I'm glad that your hermeneutics book did not include it, though.
Oh, no, not at all.
Where did it rank the ESV on formal versus informal?
ESV actually it ranked it almost equivalent with the NASB as far as formal translations. Mm-hmm. So
yep.
pretty high.
Good.
Yeah.
Then they know what they're talking about.
No,
it's easier to read. It's easier to read than the New American Standard, but it's definitely.
I think it's easier to read the ESV.
I'm saying the ESV is easier to read than the NASB.
Yeah.
But because the NASB is like literally like a word for word, and so the word order gets janky because of Greek. Word order is not the same as English. But cool. Well, I'm excited for you to have that class. I loved my hermeneutics class in college.
Yeah. I've studied hermeneutics before. We had a class at church for hermeneutics, but I could see a time when I take this and teach this at church, because this book, so far, the Grasping God's Word, is far more approachable than any of the hermeneutics books that I've looked at in the past. So I think this is going to be a really interesting study, and is going to be much nicer than. Hold on, the lights on my shelves behind me were starting to pulsate. Yeah, not in a good way. But just in the camera, because of the frequency. But anyway, but no, I'm super excited about getting into the word and studying it. And there's, I haven't looked at the worksheets that they have for us yet, but they're online worksheets and for the class. And there's one worksheet for every session. And so I'm probably in the next week or so at least going to go in and look at it and see. But something else that I've challenged myself to do for this module is do all of my note taking and all of my work in Notion. So I've put myself together like a folder or a document in Notion, and everything that I need for class is in that document. So yesterday I was messing around with putting all the assignments. They have the assignments all broke out by weeks in a table. And so I built the table and then discovered you could change that into a database, and then all the fun stuff you could do with the database. Like I've tried to do this before in Notion, and it wasn't, what's the word? It wasn't as approachable as I was expecting. But then yesterday I was playing around with it and looking at it and, basically doing what I do, try to break it. And I figured it out, and I was like, oh, wow, cool. That all works. So I turned it into a Gantt chart. So now I can see all my dates, in a, I think they call it the timeline view.
Yeah.
So, and I could turn it into a calendar or, whatever else that I wanted to do that way too. So I was really excited to discover that and be able to play around with it a little bit.
Well, and even like you can have different views on different pages, like with Notion. So like if you have everything in a database, like if you have a database for like all your tasks and you put certain tags on them, on other parts of your Notion instance, you can have a view of that database that just shows the tasks that are due today, or the tasks that have the specific tag. And then if you go to a different area that has related to a specific area, you can be like, show me the tasks that have this tag that only relate to this. And it all stems from one master database, but you can slice and dice it however you want in multiple different ways in different places so that it's contextual to what you're working on. I went hard down the Notion rabbit trail like 8 months ago because I was trying to convert my church to get off Basecamp to use Notion, but that failed. We're still in Basecamp. And we use like 10% of its power. So there's that.
I'm running into a lot of stuff called Word on the Street, but I'm not finding the Bible translation.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not published anymore. because it was so ridiculous.
Well, there was a there was a Cotton Patch edition that was made down south that I can't remember the whole story behind it. But my pastor's got a copy of it, and it's really, really bad. They changed different city names to be like U.S. city names. So like I think it's Jerusalem is Atlanta.
Oh my
and
God.
it's just ridiculous.
Is it just layered with racism too? Like
I think so.
That's terrible in every way.
Cotton Patch Bible. Don't tell me I can find this online.
Even the name makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I feel you. Cotton Patch Gospel of Matthew.
Can we not? Can we not?
So I ran across a website here that is going through Matthew in the Cotton Patch edition. So this first part is all genealogies, so they're skipping that part. But verse 18, the beginning of Jesus, the leader, was like this. Well, his mama, Mary, was engaged to Joseph, but before they had relations, she was made pregnant by the Holy Spirit. Since Joseph, her fiance, was a considerate man and didn't want to make a public scandal, he decided to quietly break up with her. As he was wandering about the whole situation, a messenger from the Lord came to him in a dream and said, Joe Davidson.
What? They made him a white guy. They have whitewashed the Bible.
So I don't think do you catch what they're doing here? Joe is short for Joseph.
I know. They made Jesus' dad a white guy.
Davidson.
Yes, son of David.
Son of David. Yep.
But I'm pretty sure Jesus' genealogy to David comes through his mom, not his dad.
I think you're right about that. Yeah.
So they didn't even do it correctly.
Yeah. I think Joseph's line came through, is it Melchizedek?
I can't.
I don't remember. But there's a significance because Mary's line had to come through the kingly line, and Joseph's line had to come through the priestly line for him to for the prophecy to be fulfilled. So there was like the kingly line of David that he had to be born of, but he also had to be born of, I think it was Melchizedek, through the priestly line. So anyway, that's a different study. But said Joe Davidson, don't be ashamed to marry Mary, because the Holy Spirit has made her pregnant. Now she'll give birth to a boy, and he'll be named Jesus, because he'll deliver this nation from their errors. Oh boy. Anyway,
thumbs down.
I would be interested to look at this just for, but my pastor said, yeah, there's some stuff that's just like just awfully racist, because it was done a long time ago, and so there's a bit of racism in there.
Super.
But yeah,
just what the Bible needed.
Yeah, more racism. Wait, what? There's racism in the Bible. They sure hated the Samaritans.
Well, it's not encouraged.
No, it's not encouraged by any means. No.
That's what I'm like. Yeah, it exists because there are people,
yeah,
right? And people are stupid, but it's never encouraged or said, this is a good thing.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah, let's just make sure that
let's be clear about this before we wrap up the podcast. We are not encouraging racism.
No, God, no.
Anyway.
Yeah, let's just land this plane.
That took a turn, didn't it? Was there something else that I wanted to bring up? We talked about Cam Studio earlier, and we'll maybe have some follow up on that in the future. All right. Well, if you're ready to wrap up, I'm ready to wrap up.
Yep. My seat back and tray table are in their upright and locked positions. I am ready for landing.
All right. So did we talk about the fact that all our podcast has finally made its way through all of the goofiness from transferring services? I don't remember if we talked about it last time or not.
Yeah, we did.
But you can get us in all your favorite podcast players once again. So if you enjoy Pocket Cast, Snipped, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, I'm assuming we're back on Amazon and everything too. So check us out there. And if you want to know more about Cam and I, all you just need to do is hit us up on our websites. I'm mitchcraig.online.
CamBrennan.com.
All right. So hit us up on our websites, and we'll see you back here for the next show here in a couple weeks. Cam, it's been fun. You have a good day, sir.
You as well. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta for now.